For the latest on developments out of Israel and Gaza, we are very fortunate this morning to be joined by an extraordinary journalist, an Israeli journalist, Gideon Levy. He's also a columnist for Haaretz and an author. Welcome, sir. So great to have you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's go ahead and put Gideon's latest column here up on the screen. The headline here is "No victory awaits Israel in Rafah, only more death and destruction." Let me just read you a little bit of this for the audience. On the eve of the possible conquest of Rafah, one camp demands Rafah and another camp demands the release of the hostages. No one says no to the conquest of Rafah. No reservist threatens to refuse to serve in Rafah if Israel invades the city. In the face of the lust for blood and revenge, there is no opposing camp, only against Benjamin Netanyahu, the primary culprit, but not the only one. Is there a determined camp? What do you think is the significance of the Israeli plans to invade Rafah?
I know their way of thinking, namely that without Rafah, we will never break Hamas. But they say it's also in Khan Yunis, they say it's also in Gaza City. It's always like the horizon. The next stop will be the final one, and you never reach it, because meanwhile, in the north part of Gaza, you see that Hamas is back. We have to know a few things about Rafah. Rafah is the southest town in the Gaza Strip, mainly populated by refugees from 1948, a very poor place. I've been there many times. But in this war, in the last half year, 1.2 million uprooted people, replaced people, were told by Israel to find rescue in Rafah without any kind of infrastructure, no water, no food, no place to stay, living in kind of tents. And now Israel wants to invade this biggest refugee place in the world, maybe. Biggest refugee place, sorry. And I asked myself, where will those people go? And who will guarantee their lives? Those are people who went through hell in the last half a year. Those people lost everything in their lives. Part of them lost their relatives, their parents, their sons, their children. Part of them lost their homes. Most of them lost their homes. What do we want from them now? So therefore, my really appeal is, please, give it up. Give it up, because nothing will come out of it.
Yeah, and I want to stay on that point of what could come out of it, even sort of taking the Netanyahu argument at face value about how this is essential to the destruction of Hamas. From your perspective, if this operation goes ahead, what even is the best case scenario for the Netanyahu administration? Because one thing we know for sure is that it's not going to destroy Hamas. An operation in Rafah is just that does not assure the destruction of Hamas. So what could the outcome be, even the best case scenario for the Netanyahu administration?
No, there is no best case scenario. There is nothing good in this scenario. The best case scenario from their point of view was really to destroy Hamas. But we both agree that this is not achievable, because Hamas is far from being destroyed, and there is no destroy such an organization. There is a way to harm their military capabilities, and this Israel had done enough in the last half a year. There is no best case scenario. For Netanyahu, I'm afraid there are also different calculations. As long as the war is going on, his government is in power, there are no elections, and his career is guaranteed. Is it the only consideration? I'm sure not. Is it one of his considerations? Yes. Is it a legitimate one?
Gideon, you write in your column, there is no opposition to war in Israel. And I wonder why you think that is. I mean, at this point, we even have the U.S. government acknowledging there's a famine, at least in northern Gaza. We are seeing children who are starving to death, babies who are starving to death. We have somewhere around 40,000 Palestinians who have been killed, many of them, the majority of whom are women and children. Why is there no significant opposition to this war in Israel?
Because something very dramatic happened on the 7th of October, when Israel and Israelis saw those atrocities in the south, the killing, the kidnapping, and other crimes that were conducted there. They decided that they are not interested anymore at all in any kind of empathy toward the Palestinians. in any kind of dialogue with the Palestinians, in anything with the Palestinians. A very emotional, primitive reaction, which I cannot criticize, but that's not the policy. And above all, the Israelis and Israel got to the conclusion that after those crimes, Israel has the right to do whatever it wants. And this is almost illegal, not almost illegal. Israel has limits, like any country in the world, and it cannot do whatever it wants. To this, you have to add the fact that the Israeli media, free and commercial, private-owned, had decided voluntarily that they are not going to bother the Israelis with scenes from Gaza. You will not see the suffer, you will not see the starvation, you will not see the destruction, because we know you Israelis, you don't want to see it, and we will do this service for you, and we will not show it for you. And that's fatal, because most of the Israelis are not exposed to nothing from what is going on in Gaza, and this shapes their mind. They really believe that Israel is killing only terrorists who deserve to be killed, and Israelis live in peace with it and are quite happy about this war, I must tell you. They are very unhappy with the fact that the hostages are still missing. They are very unhappy with the killings of Israeli soldiers. They are very apathetic about the unbelievable human tragedy on the other side.
Well, and just on that point about the hostages, and while we're talking about Rafah, because that is front of mind for so many people, and as you were just explaining, is really public opinion, what's the potential outcome for the remaining hostages if there is a ground operation in Rafah going forward? What's the potential outcome? Is it possible that the kind of best case scenario of recovering hostages safely and getting families some closure, or at least some certainty, is an outcome ahead? Or what do you make of that, Gideon?
You know, I don't know. I don't know, because nobody knows where are the hostages. But I know one thing. Israel is trying now for 6 months to release them through military pressure, very massive military pressure, killings and destruction. It didn't work. Why would it work now? We have to realize that the hostages will and can be released only in one way, through a deal. And a deal means Israel paying for their release, paying not in money, but in terms of releasing a Palestinian prisoner in big quantities and other conditions. If Israel is so eager to see the hostages free, it should have gone for a deal long time ago.
I wanted to get your reaction, Gideon. If we can put, guys, D1 up on the screen. Yesterday, there was an Israeli military strike that killed 3 children of the Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Gaza, along with a number, something like 3 of his young grandchildren as well. There was a lot of theorizing that this could be connected to the ceasefire talks that are ongoing. I don't know how likely successful those ceasefire talks are going to be. But do you see these two things as connected? Because the theory was that Netanyahu doesn't really want a ceasefire at this moment, as you pointed out, and many others have pointed out as well. He needs this war to continue in order to keep his hold on power. Do you think that there's a connection there? And what do you make of these strikes?
The Israelis claim, the authorities claim, that this operation was not approved by high levels. Is it true or not? I can't tell. But that's their claim. It was local commanders who approved this operation. If so, then something is very wrong in the decision-making process of the Israeli army, because such sensitive operation, killing 6 members of the family of Ismail Haniyeh in such a sensitive time, which does go through high ranks and politicians and government, shows that we are facing anarchy in the Israeli army. This cannot be accepted, that such an operation will not be approved by the highest ranks until the prime minister. So either there is an anarchy or they are lying. And both are very bad possibilities. I cannot tell you where is the truth. I don't know.
I think it's now long been clear that the military operation in Gaza has not been some surgical hunt for Hamas. Obviously, Netanyahu has his own political considerations of just trying to hold on to power as long as possible. But from your perspective, Gideon, what is the true goal What are the true motivating reasons for the all-out destruction and annihilation that we've seen and starvation used as a weapon of war that we've seen in Gaza?
I truly believe that the main motivation is to punish, to take revenge, to show the people of Israel that we are doing something, that we are teaching the Palestinians and Hamas a lesson. Every serious person knows that much more will not come out of this war. Nothing of the goals will be achieved, and nothing was achieved in half a year. It's not that I'm speculating now. In half a year, one of the longest wars between Israel and Palestine, Israel achieved nothing. Why to believe that another half a year will be any better? But by the end of the day, it's really to punish and to take revenge. Is it legitimate? I doubt it. Is it justified? I don't know. Is it clever? I know that very much.
What level of pressure do you feel personally? Because I have to say, I really admire your courage being an Israeli journalist, writing in an Israeli newspaper and expressing opinions that, as you yourself will readily admit, are basically unheard of throughout most of Israeli society. What sort of personal pressure have you come under, especially post-October 7th?
I must be frank with you and tell you that if from certain points of view, I went through worse wars from my perspective in terms of being exposed to pressure, to threats. In 2014, I even had the bodyguards because there was no other choice. The main loneliness, the main really challenge is the fact that many of my friends changed their mind in this war and didn't return back. So part of what was called the peace camp really changed its mind dramatically, and I'm more lonely than ever. It's not very pleasant, but it's much less pleasant to be now a refugee in Rafah. This I can assure you.
Yeah. Well, we really admire your courage and your principles. I've been, reading you closely for quite a while now, so it's an honor to get to speak with you, and I'm so grateful for you taking some time with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Stay safe.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.